Alright, hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, I will be going over giving you my reactions and review of Ring of Honor's Death Before Dishonor from Friday, October 29th, held in the 2300 Arena, also known as the ECW Arena. 2025 has been a pretty interesting year for the Ring of Honor brand. You know, they had that long hiatus at the start of the year before putting on one of their best shows ever in Supercard of Honor 2025 in July, headlined by that amazing Match of the Year contender main event between Bandito and Konosuke Takeshita. So now after only a month, they're following it up with their Death Before Dishonor show, which is usually held in July. A lot of standards to live up to. I think there's a lot of hype around Ring of Honor at this time, so this may be become a new trend now, where they start to just try to capitalize on the success of some of their bigger matches in the last few pay-per-view shows. The show started with Hologram and Tomohiro Ishii of the Conglomeration versus the 205 Live Jobbers, the Premier Athletes. I just randomly remember they were called the Varsity Athletes for that some time. This was a pretty good opener. I think Ishii and Hologram looked really strong throughout this match, but they were held back by the Premier Athletes' heel work, which has become really solid in the last few months here. I think, when you get to do something over and over again, you start to kind of master that a bit, and I think the Premier Athletes have really started to master the work of heel tag team wrestling. But still, they also made Ishii and Hologram look really strong here. It was a good opener. It kept the crowd engaged, and it was a solid enough start to the show. Of course, Hologram and Tomohiro Ishii ended up winning that match, so good for them. Up next, Sammy Guevara and the Von Erichs versus Shane Taylor Promotions for the vacant Ring of Honor 6-man Tag Team Championships. Sammy Guevara. Sammy Guevara. He was Tag Team Champions with Dustin Rhodes for a year. And then Dustin Rhodes has to go get double knee surgery, so he's out of action. So now when he's on his own, hoping, you'd think the crowd would be behind him trying to rally him. He just lost his tag team partner. No, dude. This Philly crowd was like, fuck this guy in particular, man. They did not fuck with Sammy Guevara on this night. So he walks out to some huge boos, and then, some good reactions for the Von Erichs. And then huge crowd reactions for Shane Taylor Promotions, dude. You know why, though? Because they're fucking cool. Who isn't cool? Sammy Guevara. Not even his wrestling can hide the fact of how much of a cornball Sammy Guevara is, so... Anyway, not really a lot to say about the match itself. It was a fairly good match. There weren't really that many spots that stood out to me. But, in a straightforward ending, STP get the winner and are the new Ring of Honor 6-man Tag Team Champions. I think that's a good outcome. I think STP fully deserves it, considering this role they've had in not just the growth, but they've become such a cornerstone of the Ring of Honor product, and have been seen so little on actual AEW TV that I think they do deserve to hold the title belt, and I think they deserve to hold it for a very long time. So I hope they do. Up next in a first round match to crown the first ever Ring of Honor Women's Pure Championship, we have Queen Aminata versus Taya Valkyrie. This is a decent match. I don't think, again, there wasn't really much that stood out to me here. I did like how Taya's lack of understanding led to her losing the match, her lack of understanding the pure rules. I think that makes for an interesting complexion to the pure rules matches, in that you have to be a bit smarter and you actually have to be experienced and knowledgeable of the rules set, otherwise you will end up losing. On one hand, on the other hand, it does make it seem like, oh, she doesn't really care about the match, so why should I? But I think it's a lot stronger argument that it just makes the people who excel in the pure rules matches seem a bit more craftier and more intelligent. There was a weird spot in the match here because throughout the entire match there was a graphic of the timer for how long the match should go, and it was set at 10 minutes. But then with 3 minutes left to go, the commentators announced that this match is actually 60 minutes long, and that this thing is all wrong. So I guess there was a bit of a miscommunication there with how they're actually going to go forward with this match. But still, Queen Aminata ends up winning due to a headbutt, which I think was pretty cool. But again, it showcased how Taya didn't really understand the match. Wasting all her rope breaks at the very beginning just to get out of basic rest holds is pretty cool. And she moves on into the tournament. This was kind of funny. After the match, Deonna Purrazzo walks out and has a stare down with Queen Aminata. And I say that's funny because she still has to wrestle Trish Adora in the first round before she even faces Queen Aminata. So I don't know why they ended up burying Trish Adora like that. It just means oh, okay, so Deonna Purrazzo is just gonna end up winning this match against Trish Adora, and they're gonna get us excited for the second round match that is even maybe not even gonna happen at all. So I thought that was a bit weird, but all right, cool. Up next, we have the team of the Swirl, Lee Johnson and Blake Christian taking on the team of the Kingdom, Matt Taven and Mike Bennett. The Kingdom's working face here, which I think is interesting. I don't remember a point where they'd actually made that actual exchange, but okay. The match had a really hard thought to it and kept a fast-paced energy throughout. I have to say how much I enjoy Ring of Honor and AEW Blake Christian over GCW's Blake Christian, because in GCW, Blake Christian was the kind of guy that was doing the most in his matches, man. He was doing flips for every move, like, you know, like a proper, like, getting old heads like Jim Cornette super upset about like the way he's going with his match and like how the psychology works in that match, and to a point that I was actually starting to agree with him, man. Like, this guy was doing so many flips and shit, it was insane. So it's nice to see that when he got to Ring of Honor, he got to AEW, he kind of like simmered down on that. He started working a smarter style, which makes me believe that there's someone back there that actually, you know, knows what they're doing and actually is able to control and, you know, talk things through with Blake Christian and be able to get him on the same page, where they can actually tell like a better match overall, because I think this turns out to be a really good match because of that. You know, there's a lot of classic tag team philosophy all throughout this match here, and it ends with the Swirl cheating to get the win, and, you know, that's perfectly fine. I like how much they're establishing their tag team division. I think it's a good balance here between what, you know, like, just between, like, you know, the singles guys and the tag team guys. They really try to establish, like, dudes that, the tag, like, the entirety of their roster, when, you know, they only put on, like, 3 shows a year. I think that's a really important thing to do here, so I do like that out of them. Up next, Lee Moriarty defending his Ring of Honor Pure Championship against Zelhua. I think that's how you pronounce his name, Zelhua. I can't remember. This was a very good match, and you know why? It's because Lee Moriarty is a very good wrestler. He's really honed his craft in the Ring of Honor Pure rule set. So yeah, we got this typically good technical wrestling out of Lee Moriarty. Zelhua wasn't someone I was overly impressed with. He wasn't someone that I thought, oh, I need to see a bunch of other matches from him, but he did enough to keep up with Moriarty and look good doing so. Something to note here is how the stream actually ended mid-match during the entire broadcast ended, and then Tony Khan tweeted out how, with no, like, you know, timetable of getting it back, they're just going to stream the event on YouTube from here, which I thought was a very cool and classy thing to do. You know, you won't see that out of like other promotions at all. Like UFC and WWE wouldn't do that at all. So it's very nice to see that Tony Khan was willing to do that for the fans. He was doing the fans a service there. But yeah, the match was really good. I like the unique ending itself too, with the ropes being into play after Zelhua used up all his rope breaks, and then now that he can actually be put in submission holds using the ropes, and that's what got him to tap out. Really, really smart ending. It makes the pure rules look like it means something, and gives you a different experience you'd see in a normal wrestling match. I always thought that was the biggest problem with the pure rules in general, is that it doesn't give you enough of a different experience to justify its existence. But when you do stuff like that, I think it does justify it a little bit. So, but I'd like to see more rules. I'd like to see more of, like, okay, this is just me taking the pen now, right? But I'd like to see more of like them have like a pancrase kind of style rule set, where you can't hit him in the face, you get a certain amount of rope breaks, a lot more technical wrestling ability, a lot more like real, like almost shoot fighting kind of thing is something I would like to see a lot more out of it. But still, this was a very good match. I really liked this. I really liked it. Up next, Cutie Marshall versus Paul Walter Hauser. I didn't really know who Paul Walter Hauser was going into this match, or this, you know, this promo. I know obviously he's an actor. He was in Cobra Kai. I never watched Cobra Kai. But I also do know he is a wrestler. He's dabbled in wrestling quite a few times on the independent circuits a few times. So that's good for him to be able to get this advantage to fight on the big Ring of Honor pay-per-view stage. But yeah, still my expectations were pretty low going into this match, but it did have a pretty cool hype package. You know, QT berating him, being like, you know, you're not a wrestler, you're not really supposed to be here. Basically the exact same as the Logan Paul Jelly Roll feud from SummerSlam, except that QT Marshall isn't a hypocrite and actually a really good wrestler himself. Not really good, but like he like knowledgeable. He's trainer, you know, that kind of thing. Commentary annoyed me at certain points in this match, and I'll get to one of the reasons why right here. Is that throughout the match, Paul Walter Hauser is wrestling. He's doing all these moves, and the commentary is like, "Yo, I can't believe, I couldn't believe that Paul Walter Hauser being able to do this, bro. Like, he's actually excelling so hard. Holy shit, I wouldn't believe it, dude." He's the champion in progress. Like, you know that, right? Like, this guy is a wrestler. He is an experienced wrestler. I don't know why you have to downplay all the shit he did. He was in MLW. He was fighting for the open weight title, bro. Like, come on, like, give the guy some credit. I get it. You wanna show, like, it's like, oh, we can do what WWE does. We can have actors come in and they can also perform really well. And I get that, but like, he's an actual wrestler. Why are you just acting like he wasn't? Anyway, this match had a lot of good spots in it. I think the pacing was a bit awkward throughout. I think, that whole kind of idea of like clip farming wrestling, I think really kind of showed here a bit, because I think the transitions from move to move were a bit awkward at times. I think, and then also the fact that QT spent a lot of time fighting from behind, and he was getting the big kick out spots. Like, he was being put through the glass, and he was being put through tables and all that stuff, and he was the one doing the big kick outs. I think if you had a guy, like an actor trying to become a wrestler, I think it would make a lot more sense if he was the one trying to, like, getting hit with all this punishment, and, he was the one who was getting the big kick out spots. I just found it weird that, like, an actor would come in and be so dominant all throughout the match, I think, for someone who's supposedly having his first ever match. Towards the end, there was another point that I think was really weird, and it was the fact that, QT Marshall is setting up a table, putting glass over, and then goes over to Paul Walter Hauser, and Paul Walter Hauser gives him a low blow, right? And commentary's like, yeah, like, that's a real wrestler. That shows you how much of a wrestler he is. And then, they both go up to the top rope, and Paul is looking to suplex him, but then QT gets down and gives Paul a low blow, and then commentator is like, oh my god, I can't believe you do that. That's so fucking horrible. Why would you do that? Like, bro, you just saw Paul do the exact same thing. You can't, why such a bias? I get that QT Marshall's the heel, but like, damn, dude, you're supposed to be, like, you're technically supposed to be unbiased journalists. Why? Like, you just saw him do the exact same thing and didn't think anything of it. And it's not even all their fault. I just think, like, putting those, like, having back-to-back reversals be a low blow, I think is a pretty ridiculous idea. But still, man, like, damn, bro, give QT some slack here. And in the end, QT is able to get the win by giving Paul Walter Hauser the cutter through the table with glass and getting the pin. Like I said, this was a fine match. I didn't enjoy it as much as everyone seems to have enjoyed it online says. The spots were good. Most of the spots were good. There was still a few that I think were pretty iffy. I think the thumbtack spot and the flip into the ladder didn't really look that good, but it was fine. Good spots. I think some awkward pacing. And Paul Walter Hauser did enough to impress me enough that, like, this guy can become a legitimate wrestler. In the next match, Outrunners versus Sammy Guevara and a mystery partner for the vacant Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships. Like I said before, Dustin Rhodes had to have double knee surgery, so him and Sammy Guevara vacated the tag team titles, but he gets a shot to become tag team champions again with someone else. So, outcome the Outrunners, getting cheered like crazy. Sammy Guevara comes out and he's getting booed like hell. People do not fuck with this guy whatsoever. But it's okay, because his partner turns out to be none other than Los Facción Ingobernables Rush, which gets a huge pop in the crowd, man, because I like Rush a lot, people like Rush a lot, but basically this means that Sammy Guevara maybe has joined Los Facción Ingobernables. I don't know, dude. It seemed, how could he do such a thing after everything he's been through with Dustin Rhodes? How could he do such a thing, bro? I don't know, man. All I know is that throughout the match, these two guys, Guevara and Rush, they do the fucking most to let you know that these two are like a team, man. Like, after every move, literally every move, they start hugging each other, they're dapping each other up, they're taunt spamming like crazy, bro. They're doing their thing together. It's like, bro, I get it. You're trying to garner so much heat from these guys and you're succeeding, but like, damn, bro, it just gets to a point, Also, Sammy calls him Rush, like the super whitewashed pronunciation of his name. I felt like, if anyone, like, was gonna call him Rush, like, I thought the Spanish god would have, like, known enough to actually call him Rush, but no, I guess his name's Rush to him. Anyway, yeah, the crowd's chanting for Rush like crazy. The Outrunners are barely getting any offense in until it's time for the hot tag. To which it becomes a pretty competitive final stretch, but in the end, LFI does enough to get the win. And then after the match, the Von Erichs come out to question Sammy and his allegiance to, like, what the hell, man? Why didn't you pick one of us? To which they get beaten down for. And yeah, Sammy Guevara and Rush are the new tag team champions, and Guevara seemingly joined Los Facción Ingobernables. Now I'm trying to think if this is actually like a good thing for Sammy, or if this is a bad thing for LFI, because I can just see like the fucking vignettes now. Like it's like watching that Evolution B-roll with Mark Jindrak in them. You have Dralistico and Beast Mortals in their super cool masks and a super nice suit, and then you have Rush with his fucking super nice suit as well, and with sunglasses on. He looks badass as hell. And then you just have this fucking dweeb, this fucking dork with this stupid haircut, probably no sunglasses, and a worse suit out of everyone, just ruining the picture, bro. Like, get out of here. What are you doing here, man? Please. You're ruining the vibe. It's just like that one guy. Oh, it reminds me of like the like everyone's throwing up gang signs and the one guy just waves. That's the vibe I get from Sami Zayn being in this fucking group. And you know what's fucked up too is just the fact that like, all these guys are super like, they don't speak a lot. They just let their action and wrestling speak for themselves. And then you have fucking Sammy Guevara talking the most, sounding like an absolute cornball, asking for where his 5-star matches are. It's just like, ugh, this guy is in so much aura dead. It's unbelievable. And I think I've just convinced myself this is a bad thing for LFI, but we'll see. Time will tell where this goes from here on out. Next match, we have Bandito versus Hechicero. Again, of course, Bandito's coming off that amazing defense of his Ring of Honor World Championship against Konosuke Takeshita. So now he gets to face another Don Callis member in Hechicero. First of all, an awesome promo to start the start before the match even starts. I love the vignettes of Bandito being in the West, because it's not even just about like the opponent he faces. It's literally just him beating up a bunch of random Western cowboy dudes, which is awesome. And then, yeah, he has a stare down with Hechicero in the promo. Don Callis comes out here and tries to get heel heat by insulting Lucha Libre, which I think is an odd thing to do in Philadelphia. I guess a lot of people just remember Rey Mysterio and Psychosis from 20 years ago now. Oh, no, it was 30 years ago. Damn. Anyway, some good chain wrestling to start here. Smart technical wrestling from Hechicero with some great comebacks and counters from Bandito. That was always one thing that Hechicero, excelled at. Being that big lumbering luchador, he just does a lot of the technical spots, and then Bandito counters that with some big flashy movements here and there. Some hard-hitting strikes from Bandito, as well as some good aerial maneuvers. That Hechicero tries to slow down with doing some limb work here, which is really nice. This is throughout the match though. This is probably the most mobile I've ever seen Hechicero, dude. And I think that's one of the cool things about Bandito matches, that it really does bring out the most in his competitors to do stuff that you don't usually see him do in other matches at all. So that's really cool. Both guys are totally gassed by the end, like legitimately tired by the end. But it's Bandito's fighting spirit that carries him to a win in the end. Great match between these two. Almost as good, I think, not quite as good, but almost as good as the match with Konosuke Takeshita. I still think, there's still a lot to be. I don't rate Hechicero as much as most people do. I'm not really a huge fan of that style of lucha libre, where like the slow, methodical, subdued technical style that a lot of the larger lucha libres encompass, but still, this was a really great match, and like I said, Hechicero was really mobile throughout all of it, so that kept me entertained enough. But yeah, the match was also super long. It was like 37 minutes, I think it was, but still, super great match. Loved it. Can't say enough good things about it. And yeah, Bandito continues to be a double champion. I did predict on my Forbidden Door review that he probably would have lost it in this match here, but I guess not. He continues to be a double champion, which is good for him, man. He deserves it. I heard someone say that he probably is the best luchador wrestling right now, and I think that is true. Him or Vikingo, honestly, but yeah, I really like this match a lot, and I'm really excited to see where Bandito goes from here, man. He is on a generational run right now, I think. Genuinely, like, he's on a really good run now, putting on match of the nights almost every single time he wrestles. So good for him, man. Finally, we have Mina Shirakawa challenging Athena for the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship. I think it's a little bit weird to have the interim women's TV champion challenge for a women's world title match, but whatever, it's fine. Athena, Athena walked out with the blue meanie, doing the little meanie dance, which is awesome. I love that. There was some fun pre-match shenanigans between Shirakawa and Athena here. Some great character work between the two. Athena works the arm early and does a lot of her taunting, which is something she usually does in a lot of her matches. But Mina's able to turn around pretty quickly and work over the leg. It's pretty back and forth until Athena's able to hit the O-face and get the win. This was a really good match too. I don't know if I would have had this in my main event over Bandino versus Hechicero, but this was a really good match as well. Both women hit their moves well and sold for each other well, wrestled like their soulmates truly, honestly. They had a really good connection between the two. And, you know, everything came off very naturally during the match itself. Man, how great is Athena though? Like seriously, how great is she? I'm so glad she's finally been able to get time on Dynamite this year. Like, cause for the last 2 years, that's all I've been asking for, is that she needs to be put on television more. She's like literally mastered the arts of in-ring storytelling so well. You know, the way she plays to the crowd, the way she works the arm before selling the legs. You know, both guys have like a weakness that each other are trying to exploit, and then the intricacies of her character and the way she sells after the match itself is just, it's fucking perfect, man. She's an amazing wrestler, and she doesn't get enough credit for that aspect of her character alone, because she's also like an amazing in-ring like worker in general too, and like we've known this for years. So yeah, she's great. She deserves more. She does deserve to be the forever champion. I hope she can wrestle. I just hope she can wrestle more and more good talents, you know. So yeah, that was that match, and that was Death Before Dishonor. Overall, this show was good. I like the show quite a bit. There's a lot to. I don't think it was good as Supercard of Honor, but there is some good here to come back to. I think Lee Moriarty and Zelhua is a match that is worth going back to. Not too much in the early run, but the 2 world title matches delivered really well. And yeah, I think it led to a good enough show. I'm excited to see where all these guys go on from here. Whether, you know, we get more regular Ring of Honor events, if that's something they're able to do, or if they like to keep them spread out and separate. And, you know, it's just something you check in every once in a while for. Or you buy Honor Club and you can watch them on a weekly basis. But anyway, I think that's going to do it for me here. Those are my thoughts and reviews. Let me know what you guys thought of this show down in the comment section below. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And that's going to do it for me. I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.